A hero makes people great. A hero makes people better. A hero sets out to purposely do that. Their presence, their energy, it isn't about what I can do. It's essentially about what we need to be doing.
There's no shortage of historical figures as great examples of Black achievement. Maggie Walker, Carter Woodson, Arthur Ashe, Toni Morrison, Barack Obama. But just saying these are our heroes, go be like them, doesn't seem to inspire many young people. Come to think of it, the fact that these individuals seem so distant and, well, complete, that can leave a lot of adults uninspired too. With the Young History Makers program, we decided to take a second look, to have youth take a deeper look at these storied figures.
I think just the world is just, has experienced so much, has gone through so much that those constructions don't work anymore.
It's the story part of history, the drama, hope, and joy that grabs all of us, young and old. Understanding how stories work is the key to being persuasive and confident communicators. There's a way that compelling stories work. There's a way that heroes are made, not born. There's a logic and a pattern that's common to heroes, leaders, and just ordinary people we all admire for their simple character and courage. And this exploration goes a long way to making our historical heroes into real examples we can better understand and emulate. It's a journey, a hero's journey. Join us as we explore what groups of children in Richmond, Virginia have already begun to do and be.
When you talk about sense of purpose and living with purpose, this program, the facilitators showed up every time they were supposed to, trips to the museum. So just the simple aspects like that, those were opportunities for kids to understand what commitment is, to see commitment in its making, and also be a part of something that was bigger than themselves.
When you look at successful people all across the board, whatever industry, they have certain characteristics that make them successful. Again, resilience, intelligence, motivation, self-determination. Those are key characteristics of a hero and also a leader.
I see lots of young people that come to the courthouse, and at least 50% of them aren't comfortable with who they are. And because they aren't comfortable with who they are easily influenced by others in a bad way.
The attributes of the hero remain constant and abide within the human heart. The attributes of the idol, though they may have achieved something, they are fashionable and they tend to change and go out of fashion. News today, yesterday's news.
"5,000 years ago, a story was told in Mesopotamia, what we today call Iraq. It was the first written story we can find, and the first hero story about a young king named Gilgamesh of Uruk. This man, a boy really, was bold but conceited, a tyrant to his people, yet unsatisfied. And the gods stopped Enkidu's heart. This left Gilgamesh alone and confused and worried whether he too would soon die. Gilgamesh was a mess, and the only way he could cheat death the gods might have in store for him was to seek out Utnapishtim, a wise and compassionate priest who might show Gilgamesh the way to immortality and wisdom. Utnapishtim's message was simple. What good is immortality, Gilgamesh, if you cannot see the value of the one life you have now? The point of being mortal is to remind you to get busy being the just and kind and capable person you already are or are becoming.
Why the story of Gilgamesh? Alex, a 16-year-old young man, is our narrator for a reason. For many of our youth, that's an age of choice. It's an age of choice for all of us. Gilgamesh's tale is one of humankind's oldest. And as Alex described very well, it's the story of a young man who has difficulty seeing all of the opportunity before him. Sometimes, it takes a difficult test for even the best of our heroes to learn this timeless truth.
How did knowing your history, understanding your history, and learning more about your history help you to deal with your incarceration?
My short answer is, without the knowledge of history, I couldn't have a vision to see further than the 8 years in prison because, God forbid anybody in this room ever knows what it feels to hear a cell door closing with you on the wrong side of it. But when that does happen, it is so hard to think further than the next minute and the next 5 minutes. But in order to survive, you have to. And history, even now, will give y'all the perspective to think further than 7th grade, 8th grade, your next girlfriend, your next pair of shoes, the next boyfriend, the next hairdo, the next haircut, whatever. History is what allows you to sort of have a vision to see past the things that you have to deal with every day.
There's no hero school, is there? Is there a school that will teach you how to be a hero? Okay, but there is a hero's journey.
The hero's journey is like that. You start out at a certain point, you start out with what you know, and then you make a choice. Once you have to make a choice, and you decide, is this all that I want, or do I want more? And do I have the ability to actually go out and get more? And it's at that deciding point that either you choose, no, I just kind of want to do what I'm doing. I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, I don't know enough, and I'm really kind of comfortable. Or you say, you know what, I want more. And you cross that threshold and you decide to do things differently and go for what you don't know. And that begins your journey. You pick up people along the way who can either teach you or hold your hand while you go or encourage you. You meet some challenges, you win some and you lose some, and ultimately, hopefully you learn and you can continue. And then what you do is you use what you learn to go forth and you gain confidence, right? Once you gain that confidence, you test what you know, and you come back home, and all of a sudden, the world is different. You've got more opportunities. Okay, who is this guy?
Barack Obama.
Well, who is that?
Barack Obama.
That's why we know him, right? Because he became what? But before he was president, what was he? You remember
He was
this?
just he was a Hawaiian person.
Can you see? What else was he?
American. He was a traveler. He a father.
Community activist, a father. And before he was all of that, he was little Barry, right?
Oh, he was so cute.
When he started out on this hero's journey, he was a little bit younger than you all. Now you all, your lives, just like you see back here, Barack is more than just his image. He's all the things that made up his hero's journey. And all of you are made up of more things than just your hero's journey. So Ms. Bay is going to talk with you about that, about your images. You know, that you're more than just your images because you are what? You're your heart, your soul, your brain.
For presidents, for mythological heroes, and for everyday people, the hero's journey has a very simple pattern.
You know, so you helped her. So you were compassionate where she couldn't see. That's another characteristic of a hero. They give before they get. So that way they bridge friendships. We got to the wonder part, and we kind of took off with the wonder, but there are also two other components to those two tools of curiosity and wonder. There's humility and there's compassion. And humility gives you the ability to learn, to make connections, to build networks, okay? And to be open and to appreciate what you have in the right now. Humility is the opposite of pride and arrogance. So pride and arrogance might make you think that you get what you deserve and you should deserve all the good and none of the bad, that you're better than others. And so you should, be pushed ahead in front of other people. But humility says, you know what? I need to learn because I know some stuff, but there's always more I need to learn. And hey, you're not more important than I am, so let me help you along the way. And humility works with compassion, which is that fourth tool along our hero's journey. So we've got curiosity, we're asking the questions, and we've got wonder. What if, and how come, and how about, and if this happens, then what? But then we've also got humility that says, okay, I don't know these answers, but let me go find out. And let me ask, because I'm not above asking. And let me help somebody else, because I'm not better than they are, and they deserve some good things too. And those are those things that transform your life, your ordinary life, into an extraordinary life, where you can move along that hero's journey for yourself.
They painted with purpose. They talked of Oliver Hill. They talked of Maggie Walker. They talked of Arthur Ashe. And they realized that these ordinary or extraordinary people were right here on the same streets and in the same stores and walking around the same areas that they would actually come from. So it instills in them an idea of purpose, that if these three individuals or these four folks or these people, I can too. I can too.
I wanted to welcome all of you to the studio. What we'd like to accomplish today is to discuss the creative process from a historical perspective and how that relates to storytelling and how we tell stories through music.
As a musician and a composer, I'm taking ideas that are not necessarily musical, concepts like people, places, or events, and I translate that into a sound, a feeling, a mood of some kind. In terms of telling a story, some things just can't be expressed in words. Take blues, for instance. Typically it's slower, it might express sadness, poignance, and sometimes joy. Notes and lyrics work together to capture our hearts and imaginations in ways that words or music alone just can't do. In terms of history, music has its heroes. People who've blazed a trail or discovered new ways to tell stories through music. Ask Jay-Z or Beyonce who their influences are, and they'll probably say someone like Stevie Wonder or George Clinton or Eartha Kitt or Billie Holiday. If you ask Stevie or Eartha their influences as young artists, they'd probably say Miles Davis, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, or Ella Fitzgerald. These earlier artists have contributed greatly to America, and the music we listen to today would not exist had it not been for these individuals and their hard work.
She chose to be a hero in a small way.
Every day a hero in some small way. Every day a hero, every day.
Music has history, and just like any history, it influences the future and makes new ideas possible.
History doesn't have to necessarily be interpreted through business or performing. It can be done creatively. So like you see the quilts here, these are people who are leaving a legacy through a creative means. So you don't necessarily have to take a hero's journey of entrepreneurship or business or entertainment, but you can do it creatively. So you have to remember to find what incites you, what's your passion, to find your hero's journey.
And Mr. Loving was approached to teach these females how to make men's suits. He said no. He said that's a man's job. And he found out that women made great tailors. He also was a good teacher, and that's when he decided to open up a school. He opened it up in 1921. They taught hat making, dress making, pants making. His mantra was, the students must love their work. Maggie's idea of pool capital allowed for folks to have the confidence to realize their dream and to take the first step on their journey. Woolworths was a place you would go in and get your food and then you could shop. But if you were black, you weren't allowed to sit down at the lunch counter. The second week of February 1960, there was a sit-in here in Richmond by students from Virginia Union University protesting the fact that they weren't allowed to sit down at the lunch counter. And those students were spit at, they were cursed at, they threw food at them, they called the police. And what do you think those students did back?
Nothing.
Why? Were they weak or?
They couldn't.
They could have if they wanted to, but why didn't they?
It showed disrespect.
But why do you think, do you think they were very powerful by not reacting violently? And what's the power in that?
Like, I'm just ignoring all this negative stuff.
And you're showing how powerful you are. You're showing by remaining calm. And because of that, they got a lot of recognition from the newspapers, radio stations, and the like. And people were behind them because they saw those students were acting very dignified. I mean, who looked silly? The people that were tormenting them or those students by acting dignified? And a great change was made. Those students showed by the way they represented themselves. And it was difficult. Some of them, they were angry, they wanted to cry, they wanted to hit back, but they didn't. And because of that, and because of the philosophy of persons such as Dr. Martin Luther King, they effected a great change.
I think that's the legacy. That's kind of part of the African-American legacy, the resourcefulness, the ability to overcome tremendous odds with little resources. And in fact, I know I went to a historically black boarding school for high school. And the motto was, we've done so much for so long with so little that we can do the impossible with nothing.
And I remember one evening after going home, I realized that these were all such beautiful children and they were so open to the knowledge that we were giving to them. And it just hit me, but they were so sort of empty and bereft of a lot of the knowledge that we were giving that it hit me in my heart, and I was moved close to tears because I felt like our kids are dying to know who they are. But I realized that so are all of us. All of us are dying to know who we are, where we've come from. We all want to understand our origins in order to understand our purpose in life.
We have done a disservice, I think, to our young people and people in general by assuming too much. And of course, how do you take assumption out of the world? You can't. However, the fact that I'm aware that I'm assuming, that may give me a different lens in order that my interactions with people may change, or it might be a little different.
A lot of times the product that we see on TV is not the real product. The real product is the guys behind the scenes, the story, the drive, the determination. Everyone has an opportunity to become a hero. It may not be the hero that we see on TV, but the bottom line is they're a hero to someone.
I look upon it as being just a form of cultural justice to be able to bring these stories to African American youth and to help them to understand that their heroes are universal.
It's a broader context. However, focused energy-wise, it's on young African Americans who necessarily don't know that they've lost their way, but are have every intention of trying to find a way home.
We're living and making history right now.